Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the McFarlane Toys Color Tops AMC The Walking Dead. This is figure number 7, Abraham Ford. Based on the hit TV series, Abraham Ford presented here from the Color Tops wave. That spot did take a break, having already looked at the handful of Color Top AMC Walking Dead figures. I took a break, now coming back better than ever, I would like to think. We're having a look now at Abraham Ford. I suppose to some end of it, this would be a rather hard video to do without some bit of spoilers. So if you are a Walking Dead fan and not up to date on the season, just in case anything slips out of my mouth, verbal diarrhea, some spoiler warning, just in case. Abraham Ford does look like he comes with the same display stand as the other figures, and I use the term figures very loosely. Also comes with an M16 and a rocket or missile launcher. So out of the box, you've got figure number 7, The Walking Dead Color Tops on the back. Doesn't give you a read-up, but it shows you how, well, Abraham can be posed with both weapons. In both cases, they're kind of hunched against his shoulder, but he can wield both the M16 and the rocket launcher, respectively. All 8 figures, you can check out more from McFarlane at www.mcfarlane.com. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're getting a better look at the AMC The Walking Dead. This is figure number 7, Abraham Ford, with possible spoilers. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. First thing we'll have a look at with Abraham Ford is the same display stand that we've seen with all the other figures. On the front placard, you can see AMC The Walking Dead, one singular peg hole on the top, and that's basically all you get. That's ideal really for displaying them, again, as they're not quite action figures. Well, we've kind of been down that road before. Let's put that over there. Now let's have a look at this figure. Now this is the first figure of the entire line of figures that I've come across where he's got all this excessive, and I say excessive, lubrication is the best way I could probably describe it. I've seen these in instances before with McFarlane releases, but there's a heightened level. Watch my finger. You see all that? It's just this oily residue all over the figure itself. Now, sometimes figure companies do put it on the joints just to ensure that the joints don't break, but you can just run your finger along the top there and you can see how much of it is coming off onto my finger. It's all over his arm, it's all over his elbow, it's all over his shoulder. The only area that doesn't seem to have it as much is the front of him. And, but I don't know why it has to have so much. It makes, obviously, you can see all of it by how shiny the back of the figure is. His face, let's have a look at Abraham's face. And again, I'll try my best not to spoil or anything, but I'm going to give you some heads up just in case. His face is good. The handlebar mustache and the box cut, crew cut hairstyle. The likeness, though, is one of the better ones. It's not as good as, say, the likes of a Michonne, which I think still was one of the better figures from this wave. Even Rick, I think, was a little bit better here than poor Abraham. But the likeness is good. It's a lot better than Madison's likeness. And Daryl's, again, was questionable. But they've opted to give him that navy jacket that he wears somewhat near the end of the season. He doesn't wear it very often. It's surprising that they would give him that outfit as opposed to maybe his default regular attire, because years from now it's just going to make no sense why Abraham's dressed specifically like this versus just the default clothing that you tend to usually see on him. Rick was very much Rick outfit, same with Michonne, same with Daryl, but Abraham here is a very episode specific attire. It's not to say that the paint isn't bad. I mean, the paint actually is quite good. More dark, I want to say it's almost like a dark blackish blue color, a very dark navy blue. It still looks like it's oozing oil. Look at that. Oh, that's so gross. He's also got a more lighter navy pant, and he's got, I can only describe as like a dark brown boot. Some washing on the boot, whereas the rest of the body is very actually spared when it comes to additional washes. It's sitting primarily only in the color that the outfit is in. There's no additional washing or anything on there. Now he does have one open hand, or partially a holding hand for the weapons we will look at in a second. And then the other hand is just this, it's a weird shape. It's almost like he wants to be holding something like a cup of coffee, or it's a perplexing pose that they've given him, because even like his hand, his thumb is arched backward. Even if you look at the back of the packaging here, now they've got it where essentially, and I don't usually bring packaging into this stage of this review, but they've got it in a way that supposedly it's so that his hand can sit to the side, like so, as you can see right there. It just seems a bit weird because it's not to the restricted levels of posability that some of the other figures from this line suffer from. But who may necessarily want to display Abraham with his hand just kind of resting against his jacket? If anything, I would probably want to just have his arm straight. But to have his arm straight, he's got this weird crooked thumb thing going on there that I'm not keen on. Actually, he is one of the more posable figures from this line. I'll get into that in a second. But before we do that, let's have a look at some of the other accessories that come included with him above and beyond that display stand. He comes with an M16 rifle, which primarily is a dark gray, but they've scratched in, not literally, but they've scratched in a wash of a lighter silver to it, just to kind of give it some wear and whatnot to it. Additionally, Abraham also comes with a much larger firepower, being the rocket launcher that's also included with the figure too. Both of which can be displayed in his hand. Simply just wedge the handle of, in this instance, the M16. And now you can just have it outright straight, as you see right here. But the way they've got it resting against his shoulder like that. And I guess if we want to get the full effect of the packaging or way it's designed, you'd have something that looks like this. Or what you can also do too, take this out, and we want to replace it with the rocket launcher. And the rocket launcher, it gets, I think, a little bit more stuck. But I mean, you can kind of get it like this. I think they've actually got it more so on the inside. There we go. I put the right handle into his hand. You can get something that looks like that. But the whole time I'm doing this, I'm looking at this hand. I'm just thinking I don't want to have the hand against his leg, but ultimately I have to do that because it looks like he's broken his thumb. Obviously, worse has happened. That a broken thumb is not so much of a big deal for Abraham, but I digress. All right, so we go ahead and take the accessories. We'll put those to the side. Now, I mentioned he does have some of the most posability from all the Walking Dead figures, despite the fact he's got all this residual all over his back. Abraham's articulation is the following. His head does rotate via a ball joint. You get an up and down motion as well as a full rotation. He doesn't have nearly the awkward kink in his neck that Rick had, that we already had a look at, but it still bulges a bit to the side when you rotate the head a little bit too much to the right or to the left, respectively. Shoulders hinge out. You get a full rotation all the way around. I know you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. An elbow bend all the way around, back and forth, even though you really don't want to bend his arm back like that. A rotation in the forearm, and as you can see, even when I'm rotating the arm, all this extra oil is just starting to leak out of the elbow joint. The hand rotates all the way around. He has no waist swivel. However, he does have the V cut on the leg, allowing a weird, awkward walk if you want to get that accomplished for this guy. He does have a bend at the knee, which allows for a lower leg rotation. I know, you're thinking it too. And he does also have the rotation on the ankle. Once again, a pretty, for the most part, a pretty posable looking figure. I don't have issues in this case where the legs look a little short and squat, because I'm factoring in that his jacket is a little bit longer, so it looks not as awkward as the likes of some of the other ones that we had to look at. I will say though, what is McFarlane doing? Again, are you making statues or are you making figures? Abraham is a good example of a fairly posable figure that I can actually do a lot more with than I could do with, say, a Rick. You know, I can get a full bend in the knee, bend in the elbow. You saw how much could actually rotate on this guy. And yet Rick was so limited. Madison had pretty good articulation. Daryl had, I think from what I remember, pretty good articulation. But again, like, it's hit or miss. Some of them have swivels, some of them have bends, some of them don't have leg articulation, some of them do. Which is it? Which is this line supposed to cater to? The statue collectors or the articulated figures? I think McFarlane needs to make up his mind and kind of stick with that plan. In the meantime, though, a really good figure. I probably would say Abraham is one of my favorites from this wave. Him and Michonne. I did like Rick. I mean, aesthetically, I liked Rick, even though, you know, he was a disaster for posability. Those are probably my favorite figures from this line. Still don't get why he's got the broken thumb, other than, wow, we can have his hand against his, I don't know. Anyways, though, today we are looking at the color tops. This is The Walking Dead, and this was Abraham Ford. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.